Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, peace be with you. I'm Eddie, your host. You're watching The Dean Show. Thank you for tuning in. We have a special guest in The Dean Show studio. And for those that are tuning in for the first time, second time, third time, or you're with us all the time, we always have some exciting topics. And today we're going to be really reflecting upon thinking really about something more serious. Some of you might have just, flipped the channels and you were watching Justin Bieber and he's breaking down, you're part of the Bieber team and you're just, getting fed up. It's not bringing satisfaction to the heart, mind, body, and soul. So people are looking for purpose. What's the purpose of life? And we're going to be really tackling this topic and helping you develop a better understanding. And then at the end, you can decide if you want to really continue to be a Berber Bieber fan or whoever else is out there that's filling your mind and the way that you're intoxicating yourself with things that really have no benefit. Or you can benefit from the things that we're going to say on this week's show and take it, implement it, live with it, and you can have that peace that you've been looking for. We'll be right back with our special guest talking about purpose of life here on The Dean Show. We'll be right back.
This is the Dean Show. 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 This is the Dean Show.
Peace be with you. How are you?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
Imam Suhaib Webb, how are you? Thank you for being with us on The Dean Show.
It's great to be here. It's a pleasure.
How have you been? Everything is good?
Everything is wonderful.
Everything's good in the hood, as they say?
I think so.
I don't mean to pick on nobody. We want the best for all of mankind, and we want the best for, what's his name, Justin Bieber?
Right.
The reason I mention him is because people really, a lot of days you'll see, like right now we're showing a clip. These women, they're going hysterical. They're crying. They're pulling their hairs out. And even
why? What happened? Someone died?
No one died. But people just really they've taken him as someone.
Oh, they're pulling their hair out for Justin Bieber.
Yeah, they really and he's on a breakdown and stuff. So
he's breaking down.
He's breaking down. We see a picture of him here in the court right now. He's got arrested for DUI.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We want, and The Dean Show is about helping people really live beyond just satisfying the flesh and the desires. So, how would you, if tomorrow you I don't know, you're at a restaurant, maybe you had a meeting with Justin Bieber, he came into your community center. How would you open up a dialogue to really talk about purpose of life with this young man?
Well, that's very interesting. First of all, it's great to be on your show.
Thank you.
You're doing a wonderful job, and may Allah continue to bless.
Ameen. Thank you.
Dean Show, and then you just had a baby boy.
MashaAllah.
So everybody out there, I think people don't realize we're humans.
Yeah.
So may Allah bless your son.
Ameen. Thank you.
And make him someone who lives a purpose-driven life, and the right purpose. It's been a while, man. So it's good that we're back together. It's like the Muslim Kid and Play.
Yeah.
That's interesting because my own daughter, one day about 4 years ago, I came home and she had purple on, purple hijab and everything, and this was in Egypt. And she said, "I'm a believer. I'm a believer." Right? So she was a fan of Justin Bieber, and I actually said to her, "Why do you like him? What about?" And she went to an Islamic school and everything. So I actually sat down and kind of listened to some of his songs with her, and just asked her, "Do you think this is appropriate or not?" And she said no. Right? So there was one song he had about pray. It was pretty nice, about dua, but overall it was just kind of bubblegum music.
Yeah.
They say. But I think I was very similar to Justin Bieber in the sense, of course, I wasn't famous, but when I was young, I made 3 records, hip-hop albums. Listen to the names of these groups. You ready?
Yeah, please tell.
Cocaine Crew. Yeah, the Cocaine Crew.
Yeah.
It's a really wonderful name, isn't it?
Wow.
Second was Mafia Style. And the third group I DJ'd and produced with them was called AK Assault. There's a picture of me on my Facebook wall. when I was young and out there. And I was friends with a group called Color Me Bad, if you remember those guys.
Yeah, there's that's a boy band, right?
They're like a, kind of a man band.
Man band.
They're a little bit after the boy band.
But
confusing them. Somewhat of a boy band. And I was headed in that trajectory, and really into music, had a great love for music, and was starting to go out on the road with people. And I was DJing clubs when I was young, and I would maybe ask him what I asked myself. I saw a guy get shot when I was 17. He got his chest blown out, and that kind of hit me. Like, no matter how shiny this world is, no matter how beautiful this world is, it's the greatest lie ever told. And the lie is that when we believe that this world is going to last forever, right? That's that lie that I'm talking about. And in the Quran it says, وَمَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ بَاقٍ. What's with God lasts. So I really had kind of a breakdown, even though I had a lot of external pleasure as far as the typical young lifestyle, smoking copious amounts of weed, clubbing, girls. I had a record out. I was a sophomore in high school.
Wow.
So arrogant, very arrogant and full of myself. And then seeing someone die. And then I had a Muslim friend named Daryl, who also is dead. May Allah have mercy on him. Who really, there were events, life as a teacher, and then there were friends. And they made me really think about how these things are not going to last. So I think that might be my conversation with JB. We pray for him. We should pray for these people, man.
The Creator guides them, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Not just, diss them and make fun of them. I mean, it's hard. And then try to ask him to help me think about what life means to him instead of just telling him what life is.
Yeah.
And then maybe building kind of a conversation. We say in the Quran, hiwar, like a shared conversation between the two of us that maybe will direct us to understanding the real meaning of life is to live beyond this life.
Why do you think, look, a person will have money, they'll have fame, they'll have all the delights of this life, but obviously you see, like, when they arrested him, he was on some prescription pills, like a Xanax or something like that. I don't know exactly what it's called. But you see a lot of the celebrities, they're on antidepressants, they're on some sort of pill, some volumes, they're turned into drugs. I mean, people think, okay, if I achieve this, that's it, I'm happy, but we're seeing the opposite.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's just celebrities. I have a television show that I do in Malaysia, and I film sometimes 39 episodes in 7 days. 39 episodes in 7 days, and I was telling a friend of mine the second season of that show called Reflections. It's hard, man. I mean, it's a very physically draining type of job. So I can only imagine what real celebrities go through in the sense of that sense of the word. And I said to my friend, if I didn't have Salah and Iman, I'd probably be smoking weed, dude, just to deal with the pressure and the pain kind of that you put yourself through. And then you go outside in Malaysia, people take my picture, they stop me. That happens to you here, I'm sure. And it's not comparable to what those people are going through, but it's stressful. So I think when people don't have avenues, right, towards things that are beyond this world, because at the end of the day, right, we know that all the money we have is going to go. We know that the shirt we have is going to fade. We know the nice car we have is going to get scratched up. So we're actually banking on something that we know is finite, right? It's not infinite. And that's where that sadness comes in. Like I'm banking on things that aren't going to stay with me forever.
Yeah.
So I think redirecting people to, as the Prophet said, what Labib said, the most intelligent thing anyone ever said outside of the Quran, of course, he said the most intelligent thing poets ever said was that there's no life except the life of the hereafter. And that's what that meant.
Because obviously this life is going to end sooner or later. Young people die, old people die.
And it's a short-term investment.
Short term, yeah. How about a purpose of, because, okay, someone says, look, I'm sitting in my basement, I'm not harming nobody, because you get all sorts of answers to what the purpose of life is. So the purpose, he's like, or whoever it is, they're sitting in the basement playing Xbox. They said, I'm not harming nobody. I'm smoking my weed. I even, out of respect for my parents, I open up the window so it, doesn't bother them. And that's it. I'm living my purpose. I'm happy. What would you say to this person? Is that really what purpose purpose of life is about?
People have a right to declare their own happiness, right? But I think I would respond to them and say, you being happy with those things, you're not really fulfilling your purpose. It's like when you train somebody and they want to stay at a brown belt and you know that they can go to being a black belt, or someone stays at a white belt and you know that they can move forward. I think sometimes one of the things that modern society has reinforced is that human beings aren't really that important, right? Although we have this human rights kind of movement, you know, which seems to care about human beings, but in reality, people care about, like, people talk about the economy like it's a person. The economy is sick, right? iPads are beautiful, but those are adjectives that should never be used for things that aren't human. So I would talk to him about, you know, you've adopted a set of values that hasn't allowed you to really explore the potential that you have as a human being.
Don't use your place there. We're going to be right back. We got to go to break. They're signaling, and we'll be right back with more talking about purpose of life here on The Dean Show.
I am not afraid to stand alone. I am not afraid to stand alone. If Allah's by my side, I am not afraid to stand alone. I am not afraid to stand alone. If Allah's by my side, I am not afraid to stand alone. I am not afraid to stand alone. If Allah's by my side, I am not afraid to stand alone.
Back here on The Dean Show, and I'm sorry I had to cut you off. We had to go to break, but please continue on.
No, I think that's all that needs to be said is that, you know, when people are, you know, sitting around and, like Muslims, man, it's Muslims sit around and waste time. The Prophet ﷺ said that, نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس, right? There's two things that most people lose out on. One of them is time. And the Prophet said in a beautiful hadith that, you know, the feet of the sons of Adam, of people, won't move on the day of judgment until they're asked about four things. One of them is our time. And that's why, you know, the depletion of youth, people don't use their youth anymore, man. And really people wasting time, right? They ask, you know, people who commit crime, young people, a lot of them said boredom, right? So I think people have forgotten postmodern society has taken meaning out of life, man. Because, you know, before the industrial age, people identified themselves basically through God all over the world, through different traditions. But there was a purpose to life that transcended this world. When science became religion, right? Now science is telling people that you really have no purpose. You know, you came from an animal background and you're going to die as an animal, right? That creates a problematic reality. Because number one, people have no purpose. And we have no purpose, we're just going to waste our time and sit around and do very little with our time. And then thirdly, it opens up to really like a form of heathenism. And we see that now in popular culture.
Big time, yeah.
Yeah, and religion is saying, if science is the language of the elements, if grammar is the language of words, then Islam, right, or religion, is the language of the spirit, of the soul, right? So without that soul, man, what do you have? You have a mannequin. And if you put the nicest things on a mannequin, what does it matter? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you have, you know, there was a really, really powerful documentary on happiness. And they went to this guy in India who lives in a shack, and he has like a plastic bottle as his lamp, like the sun goes through it and it shines in the house. And he was the happiest man in his village. And they're like, why are you happy? He's like, I got this new plastic bottle for a lamp. He's like, I see my kids every day, right? I have 3 walls instead of 2 in my house. He was crying out of happiness, right? Then you go to someone, there was a man they interviewed, he used to be a former Hollywood producer, and he said, the moment I moved into this 63-room mansion, I became depressed because I had no one to share it with. So there's a need spiritually to be connected to a higher power, right? In our case, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we believe is the only true God, right? And our language or our vehicle for traveling to Him is what the Prophet taught us, peace be upon Him. And that helps us fulfill the meaning of worship, right? That we believe. Our purpose is worship.
So that's my next question. I was going to ask you. It's two-fold question because some people, okay, many of the not yet Muslims, you mentioned prophet. Okay, so please, when you explain to us what are you talking about? You mentioned what prophet are you talking about? And second is what is the purpose of life? So we asked, obviously it's not to sit in a basement playing Xbox. Maybe some people say it's just to have a family, raise some kids, or this is all you got. So go kick it, hang out, and just get all you can, money, material things, because
you rich or die trying.
Exactly. So what's the purpose of life? And you know,
and there's nothing wrong. Like I'll play some Xbox. you know, with my son or my daughter, Battlefield. He loves this game called Battlefield. But I think that what happens is now Xbox is playing us.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're not playing, it's playing us, right? It controls us. So who holds the joystick? Is it the game or the person? And that's the danger now, when I was saying earlier, of we're using, you know, terms to describe inanimate objects that should really only be used for people. And then look how people are described. So you could you'll be in a restaurant and people will be eating like rare meat and hear about a massacre of human beings and just keep eating. You know, but then they'll find out that, you know, Apple's gonna release iOS 8 and everybody stops. Oh, really? I get this upgrade on my phone? So what matters to us is very frightening. I'm not against technology. I just think that I want to hold the joystick, right? I don't want to be the one that's controlled by the joystick, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So when we're talking about Islam, I mean, our core tenets are belief in God, angels, prophets, books, day of judgment, and everything that happens for ordainment is by the will of God, right? Who we call Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we're talking about the prophet, and I think this is a very important point to make. When we're talking about Prophet Muhammad, actually we're talking about all prophets. Because the Prophet Muhammad said, Al-Anbiya ikhwa wa deenuhum wahid. He said in Sahih Bukhari that the prophets are brothers and their religion is one. So when we're talking about Prophet Muhammad, we're talking about the truth of every prophet that came before him. So he embodies the true teachings of Jesus, the true teachings of Moses. So actually the Prophet Muhammad, and that's what makes him the greatest prophet, is a vessel that contains Muhammad, right? I'm saying this metaphorically, and then all of the prophets, right? So when we believe in Prophet Muhammad, we don't pick and choose. So when we say the prophet, we're talking about Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, who we believe teaches us how to get in the car, turn it on, and drive, right? How to take that course to live that purpose. The purpose that he taught us is to worship. And we believe that if we don't worship God, we'll worship something else. And I've been there where I believe I was worshiping something else. Not necessarily another deity, but drugs, clothes, money, fame, myself, being lazy. And we'll continue maybe to talk about how he expanded the concept of worship. Not just to be in the mosque, not just to be in the church or the synagogue, but that how serving society, right, is one of the ultimate acts of worship.
Before we go to break, the brother says, look, I'm going to get money or die trying, like you said. What's your response?
We'll die trying. You know, many people have done it, and at the end of the day, I mean, if that's what's going to make you happy, you're responsible for yourself. But I think that attitude is very carnivorous. What's the difference between that person and like the tiger who jumps in the jungle and just wants to eat everything? And we see where the attitude is getting us. Look at the objectification of women on television, man, just to get money. What people will do to themselves to get money, right? And they know that money, you know, now the Bitcoin issue on, it's showing us how really fragile money is. So what are you chasing? What's going to matter? And we can talk about a beautiful hadith of the Prophet about that maybe in the future.
We're going to come right back here to wrap it up on The Deen Show. Don't go anywhere.
It's like, when did you think that you had no purpose? Are you worthless? The value comes from purpose.
Your purpose in life is to worship the Creator, not worship your desires and self, not worship social pressure, the celebrity culture, but worship the thing that's much higher and transcendent, above and beyond. By worshiping God and seeking His pleasure, you get pleased. So you have double pleasure.
Back here on The Deen Show, and we're talking about meaningful, a very important topic, because like you mentioned earlier, when we're talking about Justin Bieber, death, I mean, that's a reality. You know, and people die. You saw your friend die.
Right.
This kind of really woke you up. So before we went to break, you mentioned a hadith, a saying of the last and final messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Can you go ahead and...
Well, you asked me what I would say to someone who their attitude was...
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we find this in the Muslim community too, right? Look how young Muslims are forced to be doctors and engineers. And the driving edifice behind that is not that anyone cares what they're going to be happy doing. It's... this is what's going to get you paid, honestly. And I'm sure if we ask most of the people in our community who are doctors and engineers, I'm sure that's a great thing to be a doctor. Most of the scholars wanted to be doctors because they were doctors of the hearts, and they also want to be doctors of the limbs.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like people who don't want to do that are forced to do it, and the edifice pushing that is money, right? The factors that are pushing the money. So I would remind them of a beautiful hadith of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, and a hadith is something he said or did or taught us, is that يَتْبَعُ الْمَيْتَ ثَلَاثَ, 3 things follow the dead person to the grave, right? His family, right? His deeds and his money. Or her family, her deeds and her money. Yeah. He said 2 of them leave and 1 of them stays. The 2 that leave are the money and the family. But as soon as the person is put in that grave, what stays are what kind of imprint they left on this world.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? Another thing I would tell them, there's a really beautiful story that happened in the time of one of the kings of ancient days in the Muslim world. A scholar, this king had a massive kingdom. So a scholar asked him, how valuable is your kingdom to you? How valuable is this get rich or die trying kind of?
Yeah.
He said, it's the greatest kingdom in the world. It has no value. No one has seen a kingdom like this as of yet. So he said, if I had you in the desert and you were dying of thirst, what would you give me for a glass of water? He's like, I'd give you my kingdom. He said, if I gave you that glass of water and then you had to use the restroom and I could block your urinary tract, right? So you wouldn't be able to use the restroom. What would you give me to let you use the restroom? He said, I'd give you all my kingdom. He said, a kingdom that you just said has no value is only worth a glass of water and a trip to the toilet.
Amazing.
So that really helps us think about what we're doing. There's nothing wrong with being rich. I'd love to have money and wealth. But again, am I holding the controller? Or is the controller holding me? And that's the danger of, that problem. Because the Prophet Muhammad said that the best person is the one who Allah guides and they have means that suffice them. Right? They have sufficient means. And 8 of the 10 promised paradise, Ashara Mubashirin bil Jannah, were successful business people. Who funds, NGOs, who funds efforts like this are the wealthy, right?
Yeah.
But there's always that danger of being controlled by it.
Yes.
And losing purpose.
Before we cut out, we're almost out of time. Tell us, because we know, and this program is really short, so we just want to give people a nice taste. But we know that without a doubt, Islam, submission to the will of the Creator, not the creation, has been sent throughout time, through all the messengers. It's a way of life that doesn't call you to anything that is unnatural. It's a natural way to believe in the Creator, to do good, to live a righteous, wholesome life, organic. Everyone's going back to organic.
Right.
And it's based on proof and evidence. So for the person that's tuning in, not yet Muslim, who's out there tuning in, he likes what we have to say, what guidance, what advice do you give them? Because now there's all of these other religions, all of these other ways, and now how can they be sure that what we're talking about, that Islam is surely the way from the Creator, is not just some made-up way of life from Prophet Muhammad?
Yeah, most important, and I think that's a great question. We should welcome those questions, right? One of the beautiful things about our religion is we welcome questions. So I would say to that person, number 1, think about meaning, right? What's meaningful to you? Having a relationship directly with God, not through a person or through an authority. I think that was very powerful for me as a young person. That Islam, it was like immediately put me in touch with the Creator, without anything in between, without any partners, right?
Yeah.
Then secondly is sustainability. Is this religion sustainable? Is it something that I can do on the regular? Is it asking me, when I became Muslim, I almost pledged a fraternity when I was in college, and instead I became Muslim. But I remember as I was about to pledge that fraternity, which was Alpha, and I still have friends who are Alphas, a lot of Muslims are Alphas. I remember they were telling me, like, you're going to have to go through some stuff that you're not going to like in order to pledge, right?
Yeah.
So after I became Muslim, I was like, when is the weird thing going to happen? When is the weird thing going to happen that makes me like an official Muslim? When are they going to put me on the set or something?
Yeah.
And it never happened. So it was very sustainable. As an American, I became Muslim, and I didn't have to change too many things in my life. Pray 5 times a day. I wanted to pray more than that. Fast once a year. I wanted to do that. Get to know people beyond their ethnicities and their languages. Like, I love that, coming from Oklahoma, the deep south, right? So I would say that sustainability-wise, right, you can see that Islam has been, as you say, gluten-free, right? This is man-free.
Yeah.
And that's how you know it's from God, because it makes sense. It touches your nature and allows you still to be who you are. If you're an actor, be an actor. If you're a rapper, be a rapper. If you're, jiu-jitsu guy, be a jiu-jitsu guy. But just tie the earth to the heavens. Right now, they're separate. But Islam helps us to tie those things together and have purpose.
Thank you very much. We're out of time. Thank you for being with
Good to
us.
see you.
May the Creator of the heavens and earth reward you. Thank you.
Amen.
We started with peace. We end with peace. We'll see you next
End
time.
with
Peace be with you.
It's all about peace.
Yeah. And thank you for sitting through the Dean Show. You got to really just reflect, think, and ponder. Your life on this earth wasn't just by chance, accident. You're not just an accident that happened. The Creator created you with a goal and a purpose, but do you want to know the purpose? And we really strongly recommend that you start off by asking, beseeching the Creator, the one who created you, your maker, for guidance. Say, guide me, guide me. And if you're sincere and you really want to know what the purpose of life, and you ask the one who created life, he will facilitate a way. It's that easy, it's that simple. So start asking earnestly and continue to tune in every week to The Dean Show. You can follow us on the Twitter, like us on Facebook, and share our programs with everyone you know so more people can benefit and get to know purpose, the purpose of life. We'll see you next time, God willing, on The Dean Show. Peace be with you.